Hi everyone, welcome to the Purple Curtain podcast. This is Rusty.
This is the rotting corpse of John.
John's a little bit sick and still recovering from a throat, so please excuse the bit of the
If anyone follows me on Twitter, I've been very irritatingly vocal about this. So, as vocal as humanly possible when you can't talk. I haven't been able to talk for about 5 or 6 days. I still can't really, but at the end of the day, I'm really, really getting bored. So I asked Rusty if he wanted to do it today.
Yeah, so despite the illness, John is still sounding as good as ever, and his insight and his opinion on these are still going to be rock solid. So we're going to continue from our last episode where we talk about the top 5 of various themes. We didn't get to cover everything, and we have some more questions, some more themes, and we're going to start them off today. So should we start with Ice Mouse, if that's okay with you?
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to go ahead first?
Oh, no, you go first. You're in charge today.
Okay, I'll do that. So for Ice Mouse, this was actually a little bit difficult for me because when it comes to Ice Mouse, I feel like the gold standard is Milky from NMB. Like, that's just very, very characteristic of her. When you think of her, you usually think of her with her Ice Mouse, and it's very powerful. And it makes it a little bit hard for me to come up with people who can compete with her in that regard. But nonetheless, yeah.
I'll give my one as well after you're finished.
Okay. So yeah, for me, I have Mizuki as the first one, as number one. Yeah, like I don't think anyone does Ice Mouse as much as powerfully as Milky, but I think Mizuki does it decently. It's not like a constant regular appearance, but I think when she does her Ice Mouse, it's very, very cute, and it's something that stays in your mind for a while. After that, I have Manazu. I feel like Manazu have a smaller eye, I guess, if you know what I mean. It's not as big and round, and so it's more easy for her to have an Ice Mouse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more of a characteristic of her compared to, say, Mizuki, whereas I think Mizuki, when she does have an Ice Mouse, is very attractive and it stays in your mind. I think for Manazu, it's just a more constant thing for her.
Yeah.
So that's why Manazu is my number 2. For number 3, I have Ayane. Ayane, I don't think that she does that a lot too, so it's a little bit more like Mizuki, but when she does have an Ice Mouse, it feels like a little dog to me, if you know what I mean, like a little pet dog that's very cute. It's like a Shiba Inu, if you know what I mean. So that's Ayane. Number 4, I have Rentan. Yeah, Nenka is also a bit more like Manazu for me. As we all know, Nenka loves to laugh at all the tiniest thing on Earth. She's easy to make you laugh, and whenever she laughs, she has this Ice Smile, and it's really cute in the little kid kind of way. It's like, yeah. And lastly, I have Mai Mai. Yeah, I like to put graduate people into consideration as well, and Mai Mai might have graduated for a long time, but back then when she's on show, when she's when you talk to her or when you discuss me with her or when she's laughing at something, she always has this eye smile that's kind of kindish kind of feeling. Like, it makes you feel like she's very caring, make you feel like she's being very gentle. So it's a bit different from the other people I've chosen, but it's still very attractive and something that I still remember. So that's why my is number 5.
I think there's also something which is nice about Mai Mai's, which is it kind of it looks ever so slightly mischievous as well. And it's sort of that fits in with her sort of overall persona very well, I think. Also, I think Mizuki and Ayane, they're good choices because when they sort of smile like that, it looks quite different to their usual image as well. Which I also think is very good.
That's true.
My my sort of like gold standard for the iSmile thing is actually Tashima Maru from HKT48.
Yeah.
Always looks really, really cute when she does that. So, like, my top 5 are Nishino Nanase, who is included because, I mean, I'm mostly doing members who are still in the group, but we wrote these lists up before Nanase graduated. But yeah, like, I kind of think, you know, like, when she smiles like that, it's kind of like radiates some, like, real positive energy. I always really like seeing it. Number 2 is, for much the same reason as you gave, is Manatsu. Number 3, in a sort of similar way to you choose Mizuki and Ayane, I've chosen Yamazaki Rena. It's kind of like, I always like the way that her selfies come with sort of like 2. There's like one sort of like serious face and one eye smiling face selfie. It's really nice. Number 4 is Takayama Kazumi. But like specifically when she's kind of like laughing hysterically, it just kind of like automatically happens. And number 5 I put down Yoda Yuki. You know, it's just another one of her sort of like endless cute repertoire. Always very powerful.
Makes sense. Yeah, I guess when a little goat smile, you do have her eye smile there as well. So that's eye smile, and after eye smile, we have cheeks.
Okay.
I guess I'll start as usual. So for number 1, I chose Malika.
Yes.
Yeah, Malika is a little bit famous for her round face. I think we all know that. It's quite round, and people compare it to like that new R2-D2 robot from the new Star Wars. You know, that round orange ball thing. Yeah, so
I like that as well. I like the robot too. Not as much as Marika, but I like it.
Yeah, so Malika has a very round cheek, and yeah, I think it's the most significant cheek among all Nogi member. So that's number 1. My number 2 is Manatsu. Once again, I think Manatsu is it's kind of like a characteristic of her as well, and I think having her head upper significant size helps a lot. Yeah, so I think she's one of the members with a more obvious cheek. Number 3, I have Mayan, which might be a little bit weird, but you know, Mayan likes to do that that expression where she pull her cheek and it looks kind of silly. And yeah, I think when she does that, and she does that quite a bit actually, it's very noticeable how flexible her cheek is, and it's just very cute. So that's Maya. Number 4, I have Mizuki again, actually. Yeah, and actually, it's coincidentally she's been learning that same thing I mentioned from Maya, that cheek pulling gesture. And yeah, I think it's very cute for both of them, and yeah, I find it memorable. Lastly, I have Yoda. Yeah, Yoda's just a cute little chibi person who have her notable cheek, and it's just very adorable and endearing, so that's why she's there.
It's interesting because I've gone for like a completely different concept with this altogether. Because like the kind of cheeks that I like are the kind which are kind of like quite like prominent at the front. So if there's any sort of like 48 group fans here, it's part of why I like Fukuoka Seina's face so much. You know, I kind of think that, you know, like whenever I think of good cheeks, that's the idol I think of. So I've gone for it. Number 1, I've actually gone for Ito Riria. Kind of like very sort of like high and sort of prominent at the front. Number 2, I've gone for Inoue Sayuri. For number 3, I've gone for Yamazaki Rena. For number 4, I've gone for Nojo Ami, who's kind of like actually the outlier on this list because hers are kind of like more like side cheeks.
Mhm.
But I always kind of like thought that there's something very. It's kind of like there's something about Nojo's cheeks which kind of like make her look like contribute to the overall like innocent look of her face. I really like
Mhm.
them. And for number
Mhm.
5, I've gone for Ito Jinna.
Itojuna. Yeah, you're right. With the exception of Nojo, they all have their front cheek that you talk about. And yeah, if you have not mentioned it, I would have thought of comparing them with members like Kuroka Sena, who I also quite like. So yeah, that's very interesting, and it's a characteristic I quite like as well. But not, I guess it's something I don't usually associate with like when people talk about cheeks.
Yeah.
hmm So yeah, it's good that we have a very different conception of it and have two different lists. I think that make it more interesting. And moving on to the next theme, we have Gremlin-like.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vince. This is a great. It was a lot of fun putting this list together.
Yeah. So for the viewer who don't know, if you Google Gremlin, there's like two type kind of. I mean, I think the adult and the child kind of thing. Like there's a fluffy version of the Gremlin, and then there's the more reptile-like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So when I try to choose my five member, I kind of kept both in mind, and some member look a bit more like the adult version, while some look more like a fluffy version. So for my number one, I have My Tune, and I think My Tune kind of look like the more mature version of the Gremlin. Like you're kind of tall, you're kind of thin, like the shape, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like a Gremlin.
Yeah.
And number two, I have Kaede, and it's mostly for the same reason. I feel like they give me that impression of a leaner, taller, thinner, stick-like shape, and yeah, that looked like their Gremlin to me. And I guess their face kind of have some similarity too, although I guess that depends on individuals. As for Sui, I have Kijang, and for her, I think she resembled the fluffy Gremlin a bit more. Like it's a bit of a maybe a rounder feel. Like I don't think he is actually short or anything, but it just gives you that rounder era, that fluffier era, and that strikes me as having a bit of a similarity. Number four, I have Milia, and like he, I think it's kind of that fluffy feel. That make me put her there. And lastly, I have Tamami, and Tamami's kind of weird to be honest. I think Tamami look more like a Christmas elf than anything. You know, those small Christmas elf that go and Santa put the present together. But yeah, I guess since I was struggling to throw this up, I might as well put Tamami there, and the elf looked a little bit like her gremlin, so there she is.
Well, what you've done is you've kind of like you've gone to look into the overall mythological background of Gremlins.
Mm-hmm.
What I've gone is I've looked at the film Gremlins 2, which I went to see when I was a kid, and I've chosen the 5 members that most resemble the Gremlins from that film, which is why I've got Kitano Hinako as number 1 by a long way. She's, and also kind of like there's something very like Ki-chan always looks like she's about to do something bad, which kind of like leads into the sort of like mischievous nature of Gremlins in general.
True.
Which also kind of like is we both had Ki-chan and Ito Lydia together, and I've got Ito Lydia as number 2.
Okay.
Kind of just for the same reason. It's kind of like whenever she sort of like Lydiana kind of like smiles, it kind of looks like she's about to do something bad. Number 3, I've actually got Asuka.
Asuka.
And it's actually partly because there's something about like Asuka's kind of like nose and cheeks together, which looks kind of like slightly Gremlin-esque, I think. And in much the same way, kind of like I've got as number 4, Iwamoto Rentan.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I kind of feel like I probably should have put Rentan above Asuka just again for the same reason that she always looks like she's planning to do something bad.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, I've also put Tamami there because there's something kind of like about all of these members. There's something like scrunched up about their face ever so slightly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If you hadn't mentioned Asuka and Anton, I wouldn't have thought of it. But yeah, now that I mentioned it, I can see the resemblance. And yeah, if I read through this, I might very well put them there too. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my top 5.
Mm-hmm. A good list. And now for the next theme, we have dramatic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy doing this one as well. I can't remember who. I think it might have been Finney who gave us this one.
Could be. So I'll start off again, and for number 1, I have Ikujan.
Yep. I can see it. I can definitely see it.
Yeah, so we all know Ikujan's like the moon maker. She's also the one who had an abundance of energy at night, and it's the one that's like annoying people with her excessive energy. And yeah, she's just very, very energetic and very, very proactive, I guess. She goes around and do all sort of stuff. Like she's the dramatic member, and she, when she sing your birthday song, or when she go and even just sigh, like she's just very dramatic, and it goes well with her musical persona, I guess. But yeah, Ikuchan's number 1.
Ika-chan is the one member above all who I kind of think believes she's in a TV program based on the way she behaves.
True. Like she act like she's in a soap opera or something, I guess. Which is good, I guess, considering her job in the musical realm. Number 2, I have Manazu, and she's more deliberate, I think, whereas Ikujan is a lot more spontaneous. It's kind of just her personality. We all know Manazu engineered these artificial slip and engineered these particular clothing where she shows her shoulder, and she's very good at being deliberately dramatic to try to showcase herself or be funny for the sake of the show, the group. And although it's a bit more deliberate and engineered, it's something that still counts, I think. So she's my number 2.
It always brightens my day up when I see Manatsu fall over for no reason.
Yeah.
So good at it.
Yeah, so she's doing a really good job. Number 3, I have Matsun. Sayuri is also prone to like overreaction, like her body movement and her reaction to things, her interaction with people. And a good example is her on the Yoshimoto show, for example. Maybe I'm the only one watching it, but when she's on there and she's interacting with the other 2 hosts, you can see her interaction is very colorful, it's very very lively. And when she's not on the show and someone else from Nogi, for example, Maya or Kana, the tension there a lot, and it just feels a lot less lively and sadly a lot less interesting, actually. So Sayuri is really good at this, and yeah, it brightens up the day and it makes things a lot more lively.
I think I watched a couple of episodes of that show, but it was quite a long time ago, and the group hadn't actually been formed yet. And I think that's why I lost interest. I kind of think that it might be a good idea for me to go back and have another look at it now that the group's actually there.
I can recommend some episode. Like I think I like a particular unit of that group. So I mean, people on Twitter might know that now if they follow me. But yeah, I can definitely recommend something there. But yeah, back to the topic of the most dramatic member in Nogi. My number 3 is Matsun. My number 4 is Maijun.
Yeah.
Maijun is...
I see it.
Yeah, Maijun's kind of like like a mix of the spontaneous type like Iku and Matsuen and of Manatsu, which is very, very deliberate. Like I don't think Manchun is being deliberate. I don't think she's like planning to be dramatic. But sometimes when she reacts to things, it looks like very it's like a phase, like a particular movement. Like for example on Nogizaka I was watching yesterday, when she pressed the electric pen and when it actually zapped her, she fell in such a comedic and weird posture. It just feels very, very like dramatic in an ancient fashion. Like everything about her, every time she fell, every time she reacts, her expression is just very dramatic in an ancient sense that it kind of almost feels like it's planned, but it also doesn't seem like she's planning these, like Manatsu, which is very obvious. She's like trying to trip on a particular instance or trying to show her struggle on a particular instance. So yeah, my is kind of an interesting case, and she's my number 4. My last one is Momoko. Momoko is, I think Momoko is the most different from the other 4 in that I think she's dramatic.
It's like, weird drama. It's like David Lynch idol drama, isn't it?
Yeah. She's dramatic in the sense of being dramatic, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Like she's actually kind of creating a scene, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas the other people are more comedic and for variety's sake. Like, not say they're doing it for variety's sake, but it feels more variety-like. Momoko's drama is a bit more like, oh, she's crying again, or oh, she's emotional about something, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of her character, really. I think that's just the way she is. And yeah, she's now a bit more natural. She doesn't cry as easily, but even then, if you look at her in her most natural state, like when she was on showroom with Umezawa, you can still see her being very very weird, basically. She's gonna interact with people in funny ways, she's gonna do things in funny ways, and she's still gonna be very dramatic. So yeah, that's why she's my number 5.
So I've got at number 1 is Shiraishi Mai. Like she's the queen of being overblown, I think. Because I say that it's not just like comedic reactions to stuff. It's just the fact that like you'll quite often see her like in, in the near the frame of the shot, and she'll look like annoyed, or just like often she'll look absolutely horrified by what somebody's just said.
Yeah, she's definitely the expression queen of Nogi.
So I've got Mayan there. At number 2, I've got Sakurai Reika. Like Sakurai Reika's really, really fun to watch when she kind of like reacts to stuff. It's quite often kind of like Reika kind of like is the only member who actually ever seems like genuinely hurt by anything that anyone says on TV. Number 3 is Ika-chan for the obvious meme-like factor. Number 4 is Hori. Hori is just like constantly overdramatic towards everything. And number 5, it's kind of like she's kind of I think she's on the same path as Mayan. Is Yamashita Mizuki. And it's kind of helped by the fact that like her eyes look ever so slightly insane. So whenever sort of like you sort of like see her react to something, her eyes are always sort of like taking up about half the surface area of her head because of the sort of like surprise sort of like eyes wide open look, and it always I think her eyes make her look even more dramatic than she is like naturally. So those are my 5.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess she's learning from the best. after dramatic, we also have coffee shop dates.
Ah, yeah. This I think came from Nard. This one.
That makes sense. Yeah, this was an interesting one. Remind me of those imaginary scenarios they love to do in Keep and Go, which, funny enough, they haven't done for a long time. So I guess I'll start.
Sorry, I think it's quite an interesting one though, because it's like, to me, it's not really about which member you think is like prettiest or anything. It's like, who do you think you get on with best?
True.
Which gives like a very, very different result to if I was just sort of like listing who I thought the prettiest members were.
That's true. So for my number one, I have Ikujang. I guess there might be some Oshi bias here. But yeah, Ikujang, like I said, she's very lively and energetic. She's very friendly. She can interact very well with most people. And she also have a wide variety of interests. She knows a lot of instruments. She have interest in musical, singing. She knows piano. And yeah, I feel like if there's a coffee date with her, there'll be a lot of things to talk about, and she wouldn't be shy either. So I think she would be very cool to go on a coffee date. My number two.
I agree with you, but with one qualification. Not in the morning.
That is so true. Although that's where the coffee comes in handy, I guess. So, my number two is Ayane. And the reason I have Ayane is because Ayane is just, she have a very, you okay?
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
I'm trying to move the microphone away while I cough so it's less obvious for everyone, but I think a few of them are going to start slipping through.
That's fine. I'm sure the audience and I'm going to be understanding that for sure. So yeah, I was on number two. I'm talking about Ayane being my number two choice for coffee shop dates, and the reason for that is because Ayane have a bunch of very interesting interests. Like she have a lot of interesting hobbies. For example, I think I mentioned last time she have her interest in march music.
Yeah.
Like those parade kind of music, and she even was able to got several quiz answered correct because the quiz king have no idea on this during their Nogizaka 46-hour television program thing. She also have interest in planes, in Gundams,
Yeah, I was reminded of the Gundam earlier on this week actually, when somebody was talking about her, Kotoko and Karin building a Gundam model, I think actually from scratch on Showroom, yeah.
Yeah, she did that also on her 46-hour show once, I believe.
Oh, that's probably what it is actually.
Yeah, possibly. So yeah, it's interesting to see someone interested in Gundam, and yeah, that's definitely something I can talk about with her. In fact, I mean, her interest in playing, her interest in march song, her interest in novels, music, for example. I think these are all something I would be curious about, but I definitely wouldn't know as much about, but I would love to hear more from her. And unlike the impression that she gave from earlier Noki shows, my understanding is that she's actually pretty pleasant and easy to talk to, especially when you go to handshake. She's very friendly, she's very easy to talk to, she's not shy at all. The camera shy thing might be just something there, like a character they're trying to build for her, or it's just a camera thing. So if you're going to a coffee shop date, there obviously won't be a camera there. So yeah, I think Ayane would be a really fun person to go on a coffee shop date with. And my number three is Nenachi. And I think you'll be able to relate with this one because, as we all know, Nenachi is very interested in history, and it's something she can go on and on and on about to the boredom of other members, unfortunately. But since both you and me like history a lot, that's something we would actually enjoy. So if we go with Nenachi on our coffee dates and, we just talk about history of all the things around the world, I think that would be very enjoyable for me personally, and I can imagine spending a whole day with her just talking history, in fact. So Nenachi is number three. My number 4 is Majin. And Majin Murasori. And the reason I have Sayori there is
Sorry.
no
That
worries.
one sort of bounced back into the microphone. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, sorry. Please continue.
No worries, that's fine. So I have Sayori as my number 4. Sayuri have one potential problem is that she's actually kind of shy to stranger, and that's not something that's like visibly obvious because she seems so outgoing and friendly, but she's actually like within the group she's the type that's actually more scared of strangers. So I mean if she's going to be not talkative on their coffee date, I guess that would not work out. But if we can get past that hurdle, then we know Sayori is very, very outgoing, very, very talkative, and she can just make things very lively. And she's very interested in anime, and I do have some interest in anime, and I think that's something that you can talk in details about. And she's also not dumb, so like academically, she's actually one of the smartest girl in the group. So if we do venture onto other subjects, I'm sure there's other stuff that she would be interested in as well. So yeah, that's Sayori. And my number 5 is Misa. And Misa might be a weird choice here, actually. I think her bar date might be a better choice, since we all know Misa's love of wine and alcohol and that kind of stuff. But yeah,
I think
Misa,
I think you could go on one with Misa, but you'll probably end up going to a cafe where the coffee costs about £10 or so.
yeah, you better prepare a hefty wallet. But yeah, Misa is, as we all know, Misa gave us a senpai feeling. She's a mature adult, so she's a bit different from the other members. And compared to us, I think most of the members are pretty young. I think it would be quite interesting to have an adult member to go on and maybe more mature interests, and I think that would go on really well, and that would be something that I would like to see. So that's why she's my number 5.
So yeah, I think we both did exactly the same thing, and it's partly because we both really like our Oshis on a personal level. So like I chose my Oshi Kaz as number 1 because I just find I think she comes across as like incredibly friendly and easy to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, kind of like I just thought it was a pretty obvious choice to put her at number 1. I mean, it's like I don't think it would be awkward if I were to ever meet her.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
At number 2, I've also put Yamazaki Rena
Mm-hmm.
because of the history thing, but also because Rena, she's very, very easygoing. I think she's incredibly. She seems like she'd be easy to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it might not be the most sort of like noisy conversation, but it seems like it would be very easy.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And number 3, I kind of think I had much of the same kind of logic as when you chose Misa, which is that I've chosen Shinichi Mai
Mm.
because it's partly because I get the very, very strong feeling that because of Mai-chan's personality, even if you sort of like fail, you know, to sort of like form any kind of romantic connection whatsoever, it would still be really, really fun.
Mm.
You know, it'd be a sort of like nice, lively conversation there. So I've put her at number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Number four, she would have actually been higher if it weren't for the fact that I'm almost completely certain that Sakurai Reika is not interested in men at all.
Mm.
But I put Sakurai Reika because she's just such a really, really warm, friendly person she seems like she'd be really, really easy to get along with.
True.
It seems like pretty much every single member of the group absolutely loves her, so, you know, except the 3rd gens whose names she forgets, yeah, they probably don't mind Reika that much.
Mm-hmm.
And number 5, I've got Sato Kaide.
Mm.
She kind of like, I think she seems like she's got the kind of personality I find it easy to get along with. I don't really know what she's
Hmm.
interested in, which is why I've not put her as
Hmm.
high up as the others. But yeah, like I would put her in as well.
Hmm. Kaede is interesting because I think I mentioned this on Twitter. I'm not too sure why she's popular these days. I'm sure in one of the future episodes we can talk a bit more extensively of her. Well, maybe we can talk about her in one
Well, I
other.
mean, we still have to get onto overrated. So if you put her in there somewhere, it might come up.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay, so that's our coffee shop date top 5. And for the next one, we have bad fashion sense.
Okay, yeah.
Are you prepared with this?
I'm gonna have to give a bit of a dodge out answer, but yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so for bad fashion sense, my number one is. Wait, this looks funny. Hold on 1 second. I think I might have a wrong list here. Okay, I'm done now. So my number one is Maya, and the reason is I recall.
You know that when she kind of like came on that episode of Noggy Bingo dressed as a Yankee, those weren't her clothes, right?
Yeah, it might be that one, but I recall there was a few episodes way back in early Nogi Doko actually, like it was Doko era, so it was really early, and it was like those personal growth episode, and she stand out, but in a bad way.
Maya having terrible fashion sense does ring a bell. I honestly can't bring the actual specific costume to mind, but it does kind of sound right.
Hmm. Yeah, and in fact, in a recent, not recent actually, in one of those Yoshimoto episode, Maya was there to host on behalf of Sayuri, who was busy and couldn't go on. And one of the Yoshimoto Zaka member that they were like showing the segment of was very good at fashion, and she remarked that she can help coordinate for her. So that kind of also tell you how bad she is at this kind of thing. So yeah, Maya is definitely not good at fashion and potentially terrible if we can dig out her ancient record. So Maya, number
I
one.
think I think we can trust Yoshimoto Zaka because that person, whoever she is, has kind of hung out with a lot of really bad fashion sense people in the dressing room, so she knows what she's talking about. I'd say lots of experience there.
Hmm. So yeah, I guess so. So that's number one. My number two is Nojo, and Johnson also is someone where I recall had like there's a few episodes, but this time might be on Nogi Bingo or later Nogi 2, where she's definitely one of the person with weaker fashion compared to others, and I think she actually make a great contrast with Kaz, because Kazumi is known to be decent at fashion, but she can notably do fashion for like on the cheap. Like
Yeah,
she go and hunt for deals. She's always trying to buy the lowest cost thing, and she can look very good without spending a lot of money. So that's kind of what causes. No, just the
yeah.
opposite.
Although apparently Kaz no longer sort of like wears clothes once and then takes them back to the store anymore.
So yeah, Kaz have that reputation, while Nojo have the opposite problem. She's not really good at controlling her spending. She sometimes spend a lot of money on various stuff. Yet despite the money she throws down, the stuff she buy often don't look good. Like I remember she once bought a very expensive bag, but the bag looked pretty old fashioned. Like compared to other members' bags, some members have bags that are not that expensive but look great. But Nojo had this very expensive bag that look old fashioned and look pretty Showa, as they say in Japan. So yeah, Nojo's not good at this. So Nojo's number 2. My number 3 is Matsun. You okay?
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. So my number 3 is Matsun, and Matsun is kind of funny in the sense that she's actually your official model for CanCam, so she ought to be better. But if being a model for a fashion mag, the people there coordinate for you. You're not coordinate yourself really. But although Matsun might have become better at fashion after modeling for CanCam, but yeah, in the old days, Matsun's fashion isn't the best. Like she often.
I think if we sort of like separate Matsun now and Matsun in the past, Matsun in the past is definitely just she's terrible from a kind of like generic sense of she sort of like she like sort of like chose a terrible genre of clothes to wear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like she often wear like it's a bit overblown, but in a very bad way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the way Matsun sometimes dress, and it doesn't look good. So that's why she's my number 3. My number 4 is Ikuchan, and I think she became a lot better at this, just like her cooking had become a lot better. But just like her cooking, it started from a very low base. Ikuchan once talked about how her clothing were usually chosen, in the past at least, by her mother or her sister. And for a while, Ma Yang helped her a lot with coordination too. And when she goes shop, sometimes she just go and say, I'm going to buy all the item on this mannequin. So it's all already set up. She doesn't need to coordinate anything. It's a set. She just bought a set sometimes. So yeah, these are all like signs that shows you she's not too good at fashion coordinating. But just like Matsun, I think she's a lot better at it now. But nonetheless, she's like never great at this. And in the past, there have been episodes where it really shows that this is not her thing. So that's why she's number 4.
I mean, I think with Ikuchan, kind of like people need to remember that when she joined, she was what, like 13 or 14?
True. Mm-hmm.
And she dressed her age,
That's true.
It's not a great crime, but it's kind of like, yeah.
Something to respect. Yeah.
That's what it's like when you're 13 or 14,
That's true. Same with cooking, actually. You don't usually cook when you're still in like elementary or junior high school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, I have Kodoko. Kodoko, I feel like might be a bit unfair because I think there are some evidence that she's not from a very well off background, so she might just be pretty poor. And when you're very poor, you don't dress fancy, right? But as we know, Kazumi also can dress up very well, despite not spending a lot of money and trying to be going with as low cost as possible. So I think it's definitely durable, but I think Kodoko doesn't really care about this too much. She go for simple stuff, a simple jean, a simple shirt. Like I think that's the way Kodoko do things, and it doesn't look terrible, but it's very simple and plain, and it's definitely not like fashionable in any sense. So that's why Kodoko's my number 5.
So yeah, I think in preparation we kind of looked at the old Nogizaka which talk about fashion,
Mm-hmm.
and my takeaway from like watching them is that I don't think anyone's like appallingly bad.
Mm-hmm.
My sense of fashion is kind of like pretty non-existent anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought that the only people I could pick out were like people. Like a couple of people who are now graduated anyway, so they're kind of like not kind of like in contention.
Mm-hmm.
But then kind of like basically Marika came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought I'm just going to give number 1 equally to every single member who's not Marika. because everyone sort of like looks so like meh by comparison.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's is my joint number one is every single member who's not Marika by
Mhm.
comparison.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like I'm actually a little bit surprised that we didn't get a top five good fashion theme as opposed to a top five bad fashion. Maybe I guess maybe people seeing the good fashion ones a lot already. They want to do something different. But yeah, there's a lot of things to say about Malika's fashion, and there's a few others who are pretty decent at it too. So that would have been a very interesting topic. But yeah, it's not our topic, so I guess we won't elaborate on that. On our next theme, we have emo.
Emo, yes.
Yeah, this one's actually one of those that I struggle a bit with. So I don't actually have it filled out. I only have like two, but something tells me once you start going into it, I might be like, I should include this one with that one. But anyways, the two I have right now, the first one is Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very dark.
yeah, Asuka is interesting because I guess all human is weird, but Asuka's weird in the sense that I feel like she's very contradictory. Do you know what I mean? She often talk about the dark side of humanity and kind of a philosophical sense about how things are dark and describe herself as being dark too. And sometimes you can see she's on her personal level, like when it comes to her character, she's just a little bit gloomy sometimes. But at the same time, she's also very, very easy to tease, easy to laugh, and get along with pretty much everyone in the group. And in her interaction with people, she's very nice, she's very friendly, even if she like to tease people or make fun of people sometimes. Like she's not like your middle school edgelord hiding in the basement singing heavy metal, but she have her dark side that's kind of prominent in the fandom. Like everyone who's a fan of Asuka know about the side of her, and it stands out. It's a side of her that's I don't think it's like fake. It's the way she is, and it's kind of weird, but I think it makes it very very interesting and notable. So that's why Asuka's my number one. My number two is Matsun, and this is not as obvious as Asuka. Asuka is more open about her philosophical thinking about humanity being dark and her gloomy side. Matsun's usually seems pretty outgoing and happy. Her gloomy side is more hidden, and I only know about it way back when the incident happened, and she was in the lows of her career, and it was like around that time that I learned that she's the more shy person when it comes to interacting with people, even within the group, and she can be very negative and very gloomy, and yeah, characteristic of being emo. So compared to Asuka, I think Matsun is in fact the one that more typify what you would describe as an emo person. Of course, nowadays Matsun is a lot more open-minded about this kind of thing and a lot more successful, I say. So I think maybe she's not like that anymore. But that was definitely something that was a part of her that was her character. So I think that's something that's still a fact. So I put her in as my number two. And that's it.
So yeah, at number one, I've got Ito Jinna.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ito Jinna kind of always seems like she's got like a kind of like melancholic edge to her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also because, it's not just that kind of like she's not as popular as she should be, but I think like a lot of her friends in the group are as well.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of her friends in the group kind of have started leaving recently as well, which has kind of like pushed it up, because it's like, you know, Jinna's got like very kind of like big and expressive eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of think that when something's kind of like got to her,
Mm-hmm.
she kind of like makes it kind of visible a lot more than the other members do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've put Jinna down.
Mm-hmm.
At number 2, I've got Inoue Sayuri,
Mm-hmm.
and I've put Sayu down because Sayu quite often seems to be kind of slightly dismayed by the world around her.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like Sayu feels kind of like let down by kind of like how, you know, like rubbish and disappointing the world is quite a lot of the time. And I remember when they were on Gakutabi, I kind of think like Sayu once made some sort of remark about kind of like, you know, the sort of like overpowering existence of death within everyone's lives as a kind of like joke, which went down incredibly well. Like she just killed all the students, kind of saying, you know, there's not much point in trying in life because you're all going to end up dying anyway. The students absolutely loved that comment, by the way. I mean, it's kind of like, I know this sounds like she's a massive downer, but they kind of absolutely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, I've got Reika.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because Reika, more than any other member, kind of has a tendency to get quite lonely.
Mm-hmm.
When kind of like people aren't affectionate, kind of like it seems like she gets lonely a lot quicker than the other members, so I've put her down.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4, kind of like, again, kind of like in a similar way to Jinna, I kind of find that Kubo Shiori often feels like slightly, not like even depressed, but kind of like melancholic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like she quite often feels as though when things are sort of like, when things are kind of like unfortunate, it kind of feels a little bit like the stuffing's been knocked out of her and she has no idea how to react to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is Sasaki Kozuko, because Sasaki Kozuko might be horribly depressed or she might not, but her life is so, her mental life is like so internal that it's impossible to tell what she's thinking at any point.
True. Mm-hmm.
Which feels like it could be emo or it could not.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got her down as number 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very interesting list, and now that you mention it, I feel like I should have put down Inoue, because she's also, like you said, she have those qualities, but she's also like the other side of the feeling I get from her is that it used to be a lot worse for her, and you know, how back then she get teased a lot by Shirata on the show, and you know, it looked like she's almost crying, and like she had that character of being down. Although nowadays she seems to be able to let go a lot easier. Like
Sayu feels like the member who's kind of like attacked most. When I say attacked, I mean it in the sort of like Twitter sense of the word. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get.
Do you know what I mean? Good.
Yeah, the attack without a K, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I also considered Kubo on the list actually, but in the end, I wasn't sure whether she's actually emo or she just easily cried under pressure. You know what I mean?
It's more that I kind of feel like I think she kind of feels like sort of like slightly shocked by a lot of the things that are happening around her. I kind of feel like she's perpetually disappointed in the world because it's so stupid.
I see. Could be. And yeah, she did take her hiatus, so could have something to do with it. I'm also interested by your choice of Kodoko. I get what you're saying. Although I don't know, she kind of feel like instead of being emo, she just feel like she doesn't have the energy or she doesn't have the motivation to do things. You know what I mean? Like that's the feeling I get. Maybe that's not true, but it's just like that's the sense I got from her.
Okay.
Yeah. The next one is gay.
Yeah, Finny question again here, I think.
Yeah. So I'll start up again, and my number one is Reika, of course.
Yeah, Reika's number one for me as well. It's just so blindingly obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I don't, it's almost like I don't feel like I have anything to add. Like, yeah, Reika, number one. So, Reika, number two, I have, Kawago, actually. And,
Yeah, Kawago does really love Mai Mai, doesn't she?
yeah, it's a little bit, um, significant, I guess, the way she's go about it. Also, Kawago, like another member in the group that I'm going to bring up, is very interested in idols. Like she's one of those members that knows all the idol group, go to their thing, and know them in knowledge, like in depth knowledge and that kind of stuff. And I'm talking about girl idols, not guy idols. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is something she seems very interested in, and it might be, I don't know, indicative. So cargo, and yeah, I also, she also produced those shoots for that magazine. What's it called again? The yellow one.
Overture? Is
No,
it
Marquee.
Oh,
Marquee.
Marquee, yeah.
So yeah, yeah, that might say something, but I don't know. So Kaharu goes to number two. My number three is Kana, and Kana is like Kawago in the sense that they both have a strong interest in idol. Like Kana is even able to do those what do you call them? Rotage?
Yeah.
With those light stick, and you swing it around with a towel, and that art form, I guess. Yeah, so Kana's very interesting idol. She knows the idol group. She gets in their zone. She knows the indie scene. So yeah, she seems very interested in this, and.
Well, yeah, Kawago and Kana both really love cute girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like kind of a significant trait of those two. So that's why they're my number two and number three. My number four is Wakatsuki, and because we all kind of know her relation with Reika is like very intimate, and we also know that Wakatsuki can often dress in a style that's not entirely girly, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, you see, it's interesting because I have got Reika, but I don't have Wakatsuki because I think Reika's gay and I think Wakatsuki's straight. That's what I think.
That would be an interesting dynamic, and so yeah, that's my number four, and I actually don't have number five. This is something I'm struggling with, so that's my top four.
Well, and I obviously chose Reika as well, and I think it's like I think it's just that Reika has a lot of affection for women in the way she just doesn't see. Like, I can't imagine Reika ever expressing that kind of feeling about men. It's just like the feeling there is just so incredibly overpowering.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got Reika at number one. Number two, I've got as a kind of like special guest appearance, Matsui Rena. Because Matsui Rena, the members that she likes in the group, like she really loves them. And the other thing is, like, Rena's been graduated for a long time now, and there's no rumours connecting her with anyone.
That's true.
And kind of like, I don't know, I always kind of think that, like, Rena really, really loved her sort of like fellow members. She's kind of like, she's not particularly famous for like being particularly like I don't know how to put this in a. She's like not negative to fans, but she's not particularly like overwhelming in her sort of like verbal fondness for them either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of think when she graduated, you know, like with the thing she was talking about was mostly related to, you know, like thanks to the other members instead of fans.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I put Renna in there as a kind of like guest spot. And number 3, I've got Momoko.
Momoko. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I put Momoko in because Momoko's so like clingy to other members, and it's kind of like I just think, you know, like the kind of like affection shown by her towards other members is just like so incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Momoko seems like the kind of person who's kind of like, you know, like she probably won't ever have like a kind of sexual identity until she's about 22 or 23. Like she kind of seems like a late developer, and I kind of actually think, you know, probably she just likes women more than she likes men, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4, I've got Junna, and it's funny because Junna is actually quite similar to Wakatsuki in the sense that she's kind of like the focus of a lot of affection from other members.
True.
But I think she reciprocates it a lot more
Mm.
than Wakatsuki ever did. You know, like second gen members love Junna like really, really seriously.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And at number 5, I've got Kawago, just because, yeah, Kawago blatantly. I mean, I don't know whether it's like romantic, but like she just loves Mai so incredibly seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I actually forgot about like Kawago's kind of like love for cute girls and idols in general, but yeah, I put her in because of Mai.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that I mentioned Majineda, you kind of make me wonder about my too, actually.
Yeah, well,
Although,
I mean, Mai kind of might just like not be dating anyone because I don't know. She might like. It feels as if like a lot of the roles she's doing kind of like slightly related to her former idol image, so maybe she wants to keep it up. Whereas Renna's aren't really, but yeah, like. You know, it does make me kind of curious, just because like a lot of idols pretty much just get married straight off the bat after leaving, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like within about a year or so.
True. Or it could be she's, you know, like hiding around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's our top 5 for this theme, and our last one is Kenkyusei.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So this one is, yeah, I'm not too sure how do I like choose this, because
well, shall I start, because I have a kind of like pretty set criteria for this one.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I've kind of just chosen any members who were Kenkyusei or for like a significant period of their career.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like we're talking about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
So at number 1, I've got Yamashita Mizuki.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, like Zuki did eventually get chosen for Senbatsu, but it took her a lot longer than Yoda or Momoko. You know, I think she was like a single afterwards. So I mean, she was a Kenkyusei for like must have been about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I've got Umezawa Minami, who, you know, like we've really talked about Minamin a lot on the show. Yeah, I love her. Number 3, I've got Suzuki Ayane. Just like, yeah, again, like, you know, we ended up talking quite a lot about Ayane and, you know, like previous episodes, so I'm not sure how much I can add to it. But it's like number 4, I've got Yamazaki Renna. Like, I'm incredibly fond of her, and I quite often think, you know, she's still kind of stuck in that whole region of being an undergirl, which, like, is strange. We were talking, she's contributed a lot recently, and she's been quite popular recently. So I kind of feel like now is the kind of time for her to become, like a sort of like full Senbatsu member.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kind of, and also like in much the same vein, I've put Ito Juna as number 5.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty good list. For what I jot down, although I'm not sure it's actually a good list, is I basically put down most like exclusively border member, and by border member I mean member who were in the song Border. I think,
right, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a terrible song, but it's a significant song because it was a song that basically promoted all the remaining second gen that were still in their very stupid Kankyoku system into being a full member.
Mm-hmm.
So some other viewer might not know, way back when you're still Kankyoku, you don't have your own blog. Like
I think this might actually be what the person who asked this question was talking about, and I just completely misinterpreted it.
But even then, your list is pretty good. I think it's really meaningful. But yeah, so those 6 members, they were all jointly promoted when they released this song for them. So this unit song have 6 members, and I just kind of chose 6 of them. Although maybe I should choose, 5 of them. Maybe I should choose 6 though, since that's kind of mean to their 6 member. But anyway, my number 1 is Ayane. Ayane is, as we mentioned, one of the 6 member in Border. She's also, as we have discussed extensively, very interesting and very quirky, and I think have a lot of potential. And I think
actually, I think I'd like to add one thing which I kind of forgot to say, which is that I think Ayane is quite a good choice for this particular subject, because she is like one of those members who's kind of like really climbed up a long way from the point that they started at.
True.
Like she was a very, when she kind of started, she was only really notable for being like quiet and shy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now I kind of think, like a lot of people have really come to know her personality, the kind of person she is, and I kind of think that it's coming across more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Like within the passing months. So I was like, yeah, I actually think in that sense, in the sort of like sense that, like Akimoto, Aki Pig, Aki Porker, Yasushi is kind of like put forward, like Kenkyusei are there to be girls who kind of like expand from like small beginnings to become big members.
Mm-hmm. So for the Kenkyusei thing, my second choice is Nenachi. She's also like Ayane and like everyone else on my list. In fact, they were the last 6 Kenkyusei from second gen to be promoted. As we all know, Nenachi is doing quite well recently. She's going on Q-Sama, doing those cruises with other big names, and she's also doing pretty well in terms of handshake or just in terms of social media. Like her pictures, her blogging is getting well received. So yeah, she always felt like a hidden gem, just like Ayane, in that there's always something there that people like, but we didn't get to see a lot of her because of this very silly Kenkyusei system that we have in place. So that's why Nachi's my number 2.
Sorry, yeah. with the blog photos, when you say that, do you mean on like Matome sites?
Yeah, like
or are you just talking about on Twitter or something?
Yeah, just in general, like I feel like people generally like them, and I feel like I see.
Well, I like them, so
yeah,
that's
true.
a start.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. Like I feel like a lot of like the people react good to them. Like it's a bit more common than you would expect from someone of her particular fame level. So I feel like they're being well received.
Renachi's a good selfie taker.
She is. And yeah, so that's just my number 2 when it comes to this Kenkyusei thing. My number 3 is Koloko, which is, yeah, I think we all can kind of see she have a lot of potential, but there's no spark, and maybe there will never be a spark. But yeah, Kotoko is very pretty, and she's able to get people to talk about her, even though she's not necessarily doing a lot of things interesting herself. And that musical stage play she went with Ayane to perform as their two main characters, that one was well received. So when she do get to do stuff, I think she is well received and well liked. But yeah, she's just, for the most part, she's just kind of sitting there, and it doesn't seem like she's doing a lot. So I put her as number 3 because I see potential for her to be much bigger, but there's no obvious sign that she will blow up yet, but there's a potential there. So that's why she's my number 3. My number 4 is Juna, which is someone that's also, I feel like, is getting a bit more appreciation recently. She's been in several musical play, and I think people appreciate her prowess there. And compared to the other member like Ayane or Nenachi, I feel like she's only more recently being appreciated. She's not someone that sell and handshake really well, but it's very obvious that the members love her, and I think the more you see her, the more you like her. So she's someone that is
Yeah, I feel a bit conflicted because, I mean, I'm very pleased that she's doing well in the plays, but I do also kind of like, you know, I think I've kind of mentioned this in previous episodes, which is that I kind of really want each second gen member to perform on at least one A side. And, you know,
Yeah.
with her increasing popularity there, I do kind of like fear that might happen, that Jenna might actually graduate without ever having been on an A side, which would suck, really, I think.
True. Yeah, I think I would like to see her on the A side by her own, like just not because she's graduating, but just make it on national. Yeah. So
I mean, it's like she's definitely not unpopular enough to do it to, you know, like get chosen, you know.
True. So yeah, Juna's my number 4, right? And number 5 is Lanze.
Oh, right, okay. Was she on that as well?
Yeah, she's also one of their 6 members that was the last to be promoted, which is a little bit surprising, to be honest, because I think she's popularity wise, she's a tier or 2 above the other member, and so I think she have a less interesting story, but she have her, like, she's it's really weird that she was a cancer with this long, so that's why she's here. And I'll just mention number 6, Media, because there's only 6 members anyway. And yeah, Media, like, I'll be honest, Media's not someone I really pay too much attention to. I don't feel that much for her, but she definitely have a following, and she's cute, and she get along with many other members. So really all 6 of them shouldn't have been cancers. This whole system was very silly and not very productive.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were there, and they were all like buried despite their potential because of the system, which is a shame. But it's gone though. Like, they finally got rid of it way back. So yeah, that's my top 6, can't you say? And we do have 2 other themes that it seems like we didn't discuss in the last video and haven't discussed this video yet. One of them is flop or overrated member. I'm not sure, should they be like distinguished, or like,
I've got separate lists for both of them because I kind of approached them on like a kind of different basis.
I see.
But you know, we can do whatever you want, really. I'm not too bothered either way.
I see. Well, what we can do then is that you can talk about one of these 2 themes, and then I'll just talk about mine, because I cannot treat it as the same thing. And then you can talk about you can talk about one of your lists, like you can talk about flop, for example, and then I'll talk about my list, because I cannot merge them. I kind of have difficulties distinguishing the two. And then you can talk about your own villain.
Okay, well, I'll start with flop then, because
Okay.
like this list has kind of like got it's got like two different kinds of people on it. It's kind of like there's members who I kind of think were flops but I like, and there's members who I kind of think were flops but I also don't really care that much for as well. And, you know, and they're mixed. So the one I got at number 1 was Kashiwa Yukina. And I've got her at number 1 basically just because it, you know, I've kind of said it before, but it's incredible that somebody can be in both Momori the Clover Z and Nogizaka and still somehow manage to like not achieve any fame at all. I kind of think that, like, you know, like, by any kind of standard, you know, like, you've got to consider that to, you know, like a flop. Even if you like her, I still kind of think that's, you know, like, that's just the truth, and, you know, you can't really avoid that. Number 2, I've got Iko Marina. You know, because she was centre for, I mean, I guess it's probably about a third of the singles Nogizaka's released now.
Yep.
But, you know, was never really in the sort of like top level of popular members. So, you know, like I think on that basis, you know, like I call her a flop. Number 3 is a member who I actually like, but who I think ended up flopping quite badly, which is Nakada Kana. You know, like, because, you know, the front 3 was kind of set in stone for most of the early singles, but it's Oide Shampoo that's different, isn't it?
Yes, they have Leika and Kana in their front.
Yeah. And, you know, like, Kana sort of, like, at that point was identified by management as a possible, like, future top member, but it really just never panned out for her. And kind of, I think, you know, she's pretty much stuck in Undergirls again now, so she's one of the few management pushes that I kind of think has kind of, like, definitively failed. So I've got Kanarin in on that basis. Number 4 is actually a member who I like even more, which is Sagara Iori. Because in much the same way as Manatsu, Iorin had a kind of hiatus period at the beginning of her career. So a lot of people thought she might come in and be as popular as Manatsu was. You know, like, relatively speaking. But again, like, it didn't happen for her.
True.
You know, like, I actually like her quite a lot, so, you know, I've always thought it's a bit of a shame that's how it turned out, but, like, I would sort of say that Irin was a flop as well. And number 5 is my favourite of these members, and also probably the one that's gonna spark the most disgust, I think, of being on this list, and that's Eto Misa.
Oh.
Just, like, always, like, a really, really popular member, but she's never even come close to being in management plans for centre or even sort of, like, front 3. And, like, often not even front row even. And I kind of think that, like, if you sort of, like, consider sort of, like, how much an idol gets, and then compare it to their popularity, I kind of think you might be able to call her a flop on that basis.
True.
That was, like, the one that I put in that I kind of felt uncomfortable putting in, because I really like her, but I kind of think that she maybe does belong on that list.
Yeah, I think Misa's very interesting, and I think it's, I mean, I'm sure people don't take offense, people know you like Misa. I think it's raised an interesting question that if Misa was not, like, always not prioritized by management, maybe, like, what would have what kind of popularity will she be in right now? Like, what kind of standing will she be? I think that raises a very interesting question. It's definitely something worthy of discussion. I also want to raise an interesting point about Yori. Like, yeah, when she kind of entered the group in a manager style kind of entrance, it did create a bit of a buzz. And, you know, when back in early days, when Nogi don't have too much magazine shoots, there's a new site called Natalie, and they were doing these online shoots for a Nogi member.
Right, yeah.
And Iori's shoot was the one that generated a lot of views. Like Natalie mentioned, Iori's shoot generated a lot of page views, like one of the highest, or maybe the highest page view. So there was definitely buzz. And another thing I want to mention about Iori is that they actually managed to get her a program, a TV program.
Yeah.
And not many people know about this because it's so bizarre. Like I think she's from Saitama, so it was from Saitama TV. They got her a TV program, and she also liked those gainens, you know, those Yoshimoto type, you know, like people who do a gag and people laugh and that kind of stuff. She liked those, so they did a show centered around that, and it should be focused on Iori because this is Iori's interest, and she's from Saitama, so Saitama TV is like hosting this show. And after 2 episodes, the show ends, and the rumors are the producer pocketed the budget and ran away.
Right. Okay.
And that's just so bizarre. So I mean, the show doesn't seem too interesting to me, but you can't help but wonder if this thing didn't happen, would there have been something?
That's kind of like the third most bizarre story I've heard related to a sort of like 48 or 46 show. The first one is actually, you know, like AKB48 Kimi Dare. Like the one of the presenters of that got arrested for breaking and entering.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, like if you want to look it up, it's a really, really bizarre story.
Okay.
Number 2 is Himura's affair with the teenage girl, and this is now number 3.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah. I guess our audience get a top 3 bizarre idol story then. Good for them. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting list. So for mine, I kind of merged them too. I kind of have a bit of a difficulty distinguish them. So yeah, here's my list. My top is Ikoma Lila, and wow, I think it's a little bit well known on Twitter that I was never a big fan of her, and I have a lot of complaints about all the resources they pour into her. And really, just compared to all the resources and push she got, she really never, ever, like, achieved much. She achieved wide recognition, but she's not favored. She's not well-liked. Like, people know her, but people don't necessarily like her. And to only have this much, despite having received the lion's share of the resource Nogi get for maybe not anymore, but for a significant period of Nogi's existence, that's terrible, man. That's a terrible performance.
I've got a question that I think you're probably better placed to answer this than I am. But like, how do you kind of think Ikoma compares to Hirate from Kayakizaka? Because they're in a really similar position in a lot of ways.
If I ignore their personality and character part, I think Hirate is like Ikoma in their ideal sense, or Ikoma on steroid. Like they're both a solo person at the beginning. The difference is that Ikoma never took off, while Hirate took off and become not only decently successful. And I think initially Imaizumi actually have a higher standing, like more people were hoping for her to be center than Hidate. But after Hidate became center, her position was solidified and she was their center, like there's no question about it. And even recently, I think people only want her to not be center anymore because of her health problem, not because they don't like her or they think she's doing a bad job.
I mean, I kind of get the impression there seem to be quite a lot of like bitter fans out there who do kind of hate Hirate. But I also kind of think that she did become a sort of like it's weird because I don't even really know how like popular she is with the general public, but I kind of get the impression that everyone knows her.
Yeah, I think she, like, Kanji Kayaki's image being so connected to her that she benefited from that and her recognition skyrocketed. I think it's not as high as the impression we got him, but it's pretty high for like Kayaki members. And I'm sure she have a decent chunk of haters, but Kanjo, he used to do a lot of posts, and usually Hidate went quite well. She do have like one of the highest amount of haters among Kanji member, but overall it wasn't too bad.
I don't know how good her handshake sales are. Like I've genuinely never even looked at Kayakizaka handshake shot even once. But I do get the impression that she definitely seems to have like more fans out there than I ever noticed for Ikoma. Like there do seem to be a lot of people who like quite irrationally detest her, but she also seems to have a lot of like genuinely passionate oshis as well. And I kind of think that's where the problem with Ikoma lies, is kind of like that they ended up with a very similar status in their respective groups, but I kind of think that Hirate kind of made more of it, and then also just paid the price by just being repeatedly injured or ill pretty much all of the time.
True. The last time I checked, Hidate is not one of the top seller. Like, Kanji Kayaki all sell like the same slot, like they all have 24 slot or something like that. I think they changed that later on, but initially it was like that. But in general, Hidate are among the first group to sell out. Like, often in the second round, a bunch of people sell at the same time, so they're kind of equal in how fast they sell out. Hidate is among the pack of top performer that sell out in their second round or the first round.
Well, I mean, like that's not so bad. I mean, if you're like a member who's being pushed by management, if you're at least in the top group, I kind of think it still justifies itself.
True.
Especially if you're someone who has a sort of like reputation for not turning up.
That's true. I don't know that she had that problem though, but yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as I understand it, Hirate doesn't turn up quite a lot because she's just ill.
True.
Which personally, like I know that annoys some people, but I think it's quite a reasonable excuse for that. Especially if you're someone who's like had like not just ill, but like having like specific identifiable reasons not to turn up.
True. I think it's obvious Hidate is like obviously ill. I think we can begrudge that for not being able to show up. I was just going to make a point of comparison. So, like I mentioned, Hidate always is among the top selling pack, whereas often Ikoma is the only one within the Senbatsu to not sell out.
Yeah.
Like, that's like it's not like she's middling. She's doing bad. She's like the worst among Senbatsu.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I think to sort of like make a tired point. I think she would never have even been competitive with, say, like Renachi or arguably even Junna, who just never got picked at all.
True. Yeah, so I mean, I can go on about Ikoma forever.
But anyway, who's number two? Because like I think people are more waiting for that with more excitement
yeah,
because it's less obvious.
yeah. I can talk about her for her video, so I better not do that. My number two is Yamato Rina.
Oh, you know what? I
Yeah,
wish I'd put her because, but the thing is, you're right. She's such a flop. I forgot she even existed, and then I wasn't able to put her on the list.
yeah. Like I wouldn't have if I hadn't done that sort of thing, and then I remember she existed. Yamato Rina is quite bizarre. Upper no, like I think she's one of the most bizarre members to ever been a Nogi. Like she in their short time she was in Nogi, she it's not that short to be honest. Like she stuck around for a decent bit, but she never seems to have been able to showcase herself. She doesn't seem to intermingle with other members too much. And I mean, this is maybe a bit unfair, but she looks kind of funny to me, and it all just make for a very, very interesting situation where she doesn't seem to appear to anyone. Like I don't know, have you noticed, but recently a lot of people been doing their Nogi sorting, and she's almost always the worst, if not the lowest, among the lowest ranking member on every
I think
sort.
she was mine. Yeah, like I can't remember.
And yeah, I think that's quite an achievement. I mean, it's a bad achievement, but like to be so low on everyone's ranking is, yeah, it's quite quite impressive. So yeah, that's Yamato Rina. My number three is Yukina, and for most of the mention you, for most of the reason you mentioned, yeah, she was in Momakuro, she was in Nogi, and yes, she didn't succeed. That's like also quite bizarre. I do quite like her though. I think there was potential, like kind of like Kodoko, you know what I mean? Like there's potential there, but yeah, she never achieved the potential she could have gotten. So that's a shame. She's still on social media though, by the way. She's on Instagram and Twitter, and she seems to be using them more now. So some people still follow her. So I think that also is a testament to her appeal. She still can appeal to people despite having graduated for so long. But yeah, she never make use of her potential, I guess. She never achieved her full potential. So Yukina's number three. My number four is also a member I like a lot, and that's Kawago.
Yeah, no, I think that's yeah, it's kind of probably true, isn't it?
Yeah. Kawago is it's also kind of funny. Like I always feel like she should be more popular, she should be more successful, but it never pan out. And I think it doesn't pan out despite her best efforts. So for example, let's compare Kawago to say Yukina or to say Kodoko. I don't feel like Yukina or Kodoko that much to to expose themselves, to push themselves, to build up their career. I mean, to be fair, sometimes what you can do is really limited, but despite the limitation, Kawago was still able to do something like rank, give everybody a nickname, do some sort of video program, and she tried to showcase herself, and
Kawago was weird because you're right. Kawago did actually end up doing quite a lot of stuff while she was in
mhm,
Nogizaka 46, but it was mostly stuff that she kind of seems to have gone out and looked for herself.
yeah, and it didn't stick for some reason. I remember when she, like, way back in the earlier days, what happened is that she would do something and the comments on her blog will increase, and then it will slowly decrease down to her usual average, like the 200s. And she will do something again, and then it will increase to like 800, and then it will decline back to her usual 200 again. Like she can never permanently climb up a tier or two. Whereas, for example, Asuka or Nanase or Mayan, they'll be in the 1,000, 2,000 comments area. Like Kawago just can't, despite her best effort, she can't climb up. And it's not her fault, but it's a shame. She wasn't able to achieve
I
success.
mean, it's not even like management didn't like Kawago either, because Kawago was quite often the member who got drafted in when they needed a substitute
True.
on TV as well. So it makes me think that management probably didn't dislike her either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she definitely wasn't in a Misa type situation, but yeah, she never got to be successful, unfortunately. So yeah, that's my number what? Where's my list?
It's 4, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 4, right? Yeah, it's 4. My last one is also a bit controversial. My last one's Momoko.
Okay.
The reason I chose Momoko is because Momoko's the ace of Virgin, supposedly. Like, whereas if we look at second gen, management should have zero in on Miona. Like, oh, Miona will be our ace for second gen. She's going to be the center. And there's no question that Miona is the most popular among second gen. That didn't happen to Momoko. And you can argue it's because the other Virgin member were more competitive, or they were given a more equal footing to compete, and they were able to take advantage of that and overtook Momoko. But I still think it's very interesting how, where in one case Miona become the undisputed top of second gen, while Momoko was not able to achieve that, and in fact is surpassed by quite several members. In fact, I think she's definitely surpassed by Yoda, by Umezawa, by Kubo, by Mizuki. So there's at least 4 members that's, I think, is doing better than her. And
I mean, I kind of say that Yoda was probably almost from the beginning pushed alongside Momoko, but I think you have got a point that, Kuboshi, Zuki, and Minimin have all ended up being more popular.
Mm-hmm.
In Minimin's case, especially with not very much push at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of right. Momoko is kind of another member who, I mean, personally, I really like and value, but might potentially be considered a flop if you're gonna apply some quite harsh criteria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's my top 5, and I think except for Ikoma, I wouldn't necessarily say the others are overrated. I do think Ikoma is very, very overrated, but I think it's more of a flop rating than overrated rating for me. Mm-hmm.
I mean, actually, you know what? I had an overrated list, but I think I'll probably just skip it and move on to Centerworthy as being the last one.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Sure. So, Centerworthy. For me, my number 1 is Neika. And it kind of goes in line with my Fantasy Senbatsu from the episode before last one. Like I said, back then, Neika is a very talented member when it comes to the core performance criteria, singing, dancing, and yeah, being able to perform. And she's been there since the beginning. She's very popular. She get along with the group. And I think it's a shame that she never got to be the center, and I always hoped that she would be able to be center one day. And I think she had the criteria to do it and do it well, so that's something I'd like to see. So Neika's my number 1. My number 2 is Ikujan. And Ikujan is often the member that everyone loves to predict will become the next center, and never end up being the next center. It's really quite impressive in a sense that she only ended up being center once throughout the 21 single Nokia produced. It's quite a shame, I think, and we all know what Ikujan's capable of. She's great at singing, she's very good at catching people's attention, she knows piano, she knows musical, she knows her whole bunch of instruments. She's very quirky and funny on music shows, on variety shows. So she's definitely center material, and she haven't got a lot of chance to actually showcase that, unfortunately. So Ikujan's my number 2. My number 3 is Asuka. And Asuka have been centered 2.5 time, I guess. If you count the time she's like co-center of Rustie as half the time. So she's been able to center a few times now, and I think in general she does well. She is quite well liked, and depending on what metric you're looking at right now, Asuka is in some sense the top member of the group. So she's definitely center worthy. And if Ma Yang is to graduate eventually within like let's say this year or something, then I think Asuka will be one of the most important member to keep the ship sailing. So in that sense, Asuka being center is also an important long-term sustainable consideration. So yeah, Asuka's my number 3. My number 4 is going to be a less conventional choice, I guess. I have Umezawa. I have Minami as my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is that I feel like management already make Momoko and Yoda center once. And eventually I can see Mizuki and Kubo making it too. But I feel like Ume should have the chance, even if it's less likely she'll receive the chance from management. But even if she's maybe not the ideal type of management, I think she check off all the criteria for a good center. She's popular, she can perform well, she's very, very ready like, and she's also follow the mode of their senpai type, I guess. I mean, like the more adult, mature-ish kind of member compared to say Momoko or Yoda, who give off a more younger little sister type of feeling. So in Nogi, I feel like the more mature elder sister type have always been more popular. So I think Minami fit that criteria, fit that mode, and I think she would make a great center if she's given the chance. My last one is joints. It's just Yoda and Momoko. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of their initial push they gave her. I feel like it was too early, but they are a decent center. They are decent Nogi member. They're doing great as per Gem. Momoko a bit less so than others member, but still decently. So if the first gen are to slowly graduate away, they will be the center. They will be in the front. So and they have been in center and the front, and they did pretty well. So
one thing I would add is I actually think that if you're going to do double center, I actually don't think Yoda and Momoko is the best choice.
Who do you have in mind?
I would personally put Yoda and Mizuki together, and I would put Momoko and Kuboshi together.
That's pretty interesting. Is there a reason for that?
I mean, it's just that it's just my sort of like my personal opinion that I actually think I think Yoda and Mizuki blend together very well. Even though they're kind of very, very different personalities in almost every conceivable way. But I also think that like Momoko and Kuboshi kind of like have the potential to work well together for like the opposite reason, which is they both kind of like got this idea of like they both got this kind of like aura of being not quite finished as people. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. It's kind of like they both seem like the kind of people who are going to like end up becoming, like more confident in themselves, but they're not quite there yet. So if you sort of like build the theming of the song around that, I think it could work quite well together.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that working. It's not something I immediately thought of, but I can see the dynamic working out. So, who do you got for your top 5?
Well, I'm kind of like restricting it to members who've never centered before. But I will give an honourable mention to Ika-chan and Hori in particular as like members who I really very keen to see center again in the near future. like Ika-chan, I think, I kind of mentioned that I think if they want to, like make a really, really outstanding single, like musically, I think Ika-chan is the obvious choice because she brings so much vocally and will do in performances as well. And just like Hori, I think management has finally like redeemed her after sort of like making her center and then dropping her. But I would still quite like that sort of like whole narrative arc to be finished and for Hori to center again. But going on to my actual list, I've got a joint first place because they both sort of like they both represent the same kind of idea of why I think they would make a good center, which is just Misa and Manatsu. Not necessarily as double center, but just like both for the same reason that they're members who were like actually well known enough to the general public, but like absolutely beloved by the fan base, and they're both great performers. And I kind of think that they both would sort of like give something slightly different. If Nogizaka want to sort of like put out a song which is sort of like has like a sort of like adult theme, but they're not taking it too overly seriously. Like I think that they both would be absolutely perfect for that, and I'd be quite.
I can see that. Yeah.
And I think most fans would be quite happy to see them as centers as well. So I've put them at sort of like joint first place. At the second place, I've got Kitano Hinako. And it's partly because I think Ki-chan, for one thing, has been the center in Undergirls loads and loads of times now. So she's actually probably got, like some of the best center experience in the group still.
True.
And Ki-chan is like not the most popular member in the group, but she's definitely popular enough that you can justify the idea of putting her as center. And again, like it's like she's another member who kind of like has been through a lot. So if you sort of like want to tie that in thematically, the sort of like idea of like rebirth and sort of like becoming a new person, if there's something in the song about that, I think Ki-chan would be a great choice for that kind of song.
True.
At number 3, I've also put Minimin. And I think it's because she's quite a unique presence, like she's one of the few members Nogizaka sort of like had who kind of like fits a kind of like slightly like cooler image. And I think that in the same way that like Nanamin was like eventually like a good center for Sayonara no Emi, she would sort of like bring like a sort of similar quality to the song, to a song if she was center. So like on that basis, I think she would do well. And also she's very popular. And I kind of also think that like she's got like a very, very striking appearance, so I think she'll be like memorable as a center as well.
True.
Number 4, I've got Yamashita Mizuki. And I think it's actually because she's a really, really good example of orthodox idols within the group.
True.
I mean, it's kind of like, as fans, we know that she's quite odd. But she's also, like she's got a very cute face. She's quite good on TV as well. So I think if they choose her, it's like that would actually be quite a sort of like solid choice. And number 5, kind of like as a more kind of left field choice, if they want to do like a summer single, I actually think Iwamoto Renka might be quite a good choice. As a kind of like departure to a more sort of like upbeat, more like traditionally idly sound, I think she'd be a really good center choice. Although, well, obviously that's kind of moderated slightly by the fact that because she's too young to go on nighttime TV. So it would probably be difficult to promote any single that she was centre of until she's a bit older.
True.
But to be honest, I kind of think Rentan would still have the same kind of, like, bounciness to her when she's 17 as well that she's got now.
Yeah.
So those are my choices.
Yeah, that seems like a really solid choice, and definitely more interesting than mine since you restricted it to members who haven't been centered before. So yeah, I think that's it for like older theme, top 5 theme I think we've gone through everything, right?
Yeah, and lots of thanks to all the people who sent in their ideas for this.
Yeah, it's very much appreciated. And yeah, I guess that's it from us. Thank you for listening to Purple Current Podcast, and I guess we'll see you next time on our next episode. This is bye bye from Rusty.
And bye bye from John. I'm sorry about all the coughing, but it probably would have taken another 2 weeks or so to completely get rid of it. So yeah, there's not much we can do there. Thank you for listening.